Welcome back, guys. We're here for game number 3 of Kingzone versus KT Rolster. You thought the first 2 games were good. We'll wait until game number 3. We'd have to imagine that as it ramps up, it only gets crazier and crazier.
How do we back up those 2 games, though? We even got the legendary Deft Jinx, which didn't look like it, but ended up picking up the victory after all and extending that career win rate. Very hard for me to tabulate it because there's stats that include China but don't include pre-Season 5 and also entire Korean stats. But regardless, he has close to a 90, maybe even above 90% career win rate, around 35 games to 40 games on that Jinx. Do we see another career-defining pick or another spirit animal be locked in by one of the players here? Because we still do have a lot of famous players, and I, for one, want to see a score Gragas at minimum.
Yeah, I mean, in what could be his last game, as we mentioned before, that last one could have been his last one if KT won and Amalife lost. But didn't end up happening. We'll get another game of score.
But not another game of BDD trying to make the heroics happen again and again on Azir. That champion gonna be ban-hammered this time out after Azir. You look at both players, they have been so dominantly playing Azir. If we put the numbers together, it's been 26 games between Naehyun and BDD of the Azir. From there, it's Corki for Naehyun, and it's Akali for BDD. But Rascal will be the one to pick up the Akali this game. They're going to first pick it, and we'll see what it's the cost of, as the identity of this series has been very Kingzone so far, and that Kingzone have been playing lots of multiple threat comps that don't have the best team fighting in a conventional sense, and KT have been going team fight. Does KT go team fight this time? Does seem like Graggy Ice gonna get a visit.
Oh,
at least a half. Remember, Skull could pick it for himself.
Yeah, it's not over yet, but I thought that was gonna be the moment.
Give it to me, baby. Exactly, see? We're on the same wavelength. All right. We didn't age out of that reference.
Yeah, I think you and I both get that one. Maybe some people in the chat might not, but that's okay. You can always search the offspring.
Give it to me, Graggy. Yeah.
It's happening.
I'm loving it. Scores Gragas is a great YouTube video on Riot Games Korea's YouTube channel. Not sure exactly which one it is. That is Pocket Picks Gragas with Score. Talking about all the combos and buffering your Protobelt during the belly bop and all the other intricacies of his most famous jungle pick. Gragas comes in, and speaking of famous picks, it may not be a spirit animal, but what about Tom Kench? Well, Tom Kench is gone, but the Ezreal, at least for Deft, could be a big pick here.
It will be locked in. We did see Lethality Farius in game number 1. I know it has been a long time, guys, since game number 1, since both of them were incredibly lengthy games.
What is TusiN playing? It's Thresh again. That was I was thinking, to give that lane, but I feel like Thresh or Karma were the 2 picks I was thinking of to amp up the Ezreal personality. Hey,
can you just calm down over there?
What can I say?
Profiting.
Profit Papa. Well, sadly, Corki's up. So.
He does it again. Well, yeah.
It's going to be locked in. Boring.
It's going to be locked in. Corki's too good. And I think both Azir and Corki got hit on 916, if I'm not remembering that incorrectly.
Naehyun might be rolling the Karma as well. We shouldn't forget that. There's a chance. I wonder if we see some Kassadin shenanigans. I know Naehyun's a Kassadin player, but KT could also start doing some role swapping. So that's what happened. Remember, we saw, I think it was Keen went top lane Corki or something in that series. So a lot of different shenanigans can still happen in the draft, even if you try to get your Kassadin versus Corki matchup. Morgana going to be banned here against Kingzone, so I guess it is KT not giving respect to Naehyun, who, remember, at the start of the season, like, yeah, he's going to play Jinx Karma every game for Deft, and that didn't happen after all. Has played plenty of carry picks this season.
Yeah. No Aatrox this game. It does get taken away pretty early on here in the second wave of bans. Was hovered there for a second, I believe, by KT.
I wonder if the Crocodile gets any respect. been a pretty good series for the Crocodiles so far, as Alistair going to be banned, so they really don't respect it to be Karma bot lane. For clarity, Ezreal Karma is really, really high pressure lane, and while Deft can do that alone with Tahm Kench escapes, with Karma it's very, very wantonly aggressive. Like, this can be very powerful too for 2v2, and yet not a lot of respect being shown to that being a bot lane Karma. You know what I would like to see? Maybe not after a Nautilus lock-in, but I wouldn't mind seeing a Cassiopeia in the mid lane from Naehyun if he's not going to play something like the
Karma.
The Kassadin.
Yeah, well, he's playing the Karma in this game, as TusiN will be on Braum duty this time around.
Boring.
So we need a jungler here for Cuzz.
Hey, how about a dive buddy of some sort for the Akali? It's going to be Xin in this particular game. So returning to the Xinjiao of game number 1. That was, in fact, a KT Rolster victory in game 1. How are we going to round this out, KT? What are we going to do here? It's going to be the Camille. This time from Kingen. Been a Rascal pick recently, and that's a very high action top lane. Kali versus Camille in the 1v1.
Yeah, I'd like to just set our sights on that one. Maybe a little bit of the bottom lane, but mostly the top lane in the jungle, please, if possible. A lot of signs for King Zone tonight. Even breaking out the blue marker for the King Zone colors.
This should be a really interesting game. I think King Zone have a timing once again. They want to play around. Their mid game is very, very powerful. They can rotate strongly, and they have the ability to get some picks. Now, their CC is very limited, you'll notice, right? Braum can sack it up. Xinjiao, Akali, R1, but that's all. So non-committal CC is basically nothing. So because of that, it kind of has to be very well piloted by this team, and they've been up and down so far over the course of the day. But we do get Deft on Ezreal. And if Deft can have an Ezreal laning phase to echo some of his dominant, and I mean dominant, summer Ezreal laning phases, if you can make it all about Deft, this can definitely be a victory where they snowball super hard in the mid game, and Xinjiao can also do a lot of interesting things early. But outside those scenarios, this is a very stock standard, you know exactly what it does team comp. 2 Infinity Edge AD carries, a strong side laner, engage in front line. It has a bit of everything on KT's side, so a lot of the realities of the late game do suit KT Rolster, something you could have said 3 games in a row. But if King Zone is on top form, this is definitely winnable in Korea with a draft like this, and with Ezreal being piloted by Deft.
Well, we'll see who comes out ahead here as we're going to jump into the decider match. Let's jump into game number 3. I feel like every day now at the end of summer, we're pretty much packed out. The King Zone and KT fans, not the most ravenous fans.
Oh, KT's up there, I think, still in fan base.
I just mean not in size of fan base, I mean in
sound.
How loud they are.
That's fair, yeah, I would agree.
Because it might not sound like it, guys, but we're all sold out here. Almost every single seat is taken for game number 3. And for the entire series that we have had here. And that's been the case for most of the days that I've been downcasting. And it's a good sign. Good stuff here, Korean League of Legends.
I cursed Score in game number 2 by giving him his little obituary, and then it turned out they didn't win, and thus Score may be coming back in the relegation tournament and playing at Lowell Park. But this is his 713th game of professional League of Legends, Valdez. Fun fact, if he does win this series, he would have won 2-1. He would end on 420 wins, which...
Are you serious?
Yep. He's 418 wins before the series started, I believe.
No way!
Yeah. That would in fact be correct. And he would end on a career win rate of 59%, which is pretty damn...
Well, you get the 9 in there at least. 69% would have been too much, I guess. But
713 stage games.
That's pretty intense, actually. How many games of Gragas does he have? What's his most played, actually?
I think it...
Do you have that stat?
I do have all those stats in front of me, yes. Inven is a wonderful, wonderful thing. His most played is Gragas. This is his 77th game. He's 44, 32, 58% win rate.
58%. It's hard to do. Be that consistent on stage when it matters.
Here's a question. What do you think Score's highest win rate, like regular pick is? He's been around a long time. As a jungler, obviously, since Season 5. Before that, as an AD carry. What do you think his highest win rate? It's a jungler, just to be clear.
What do you mean regular pick?
As in, like, more than, like, 8. You know, more than 10.
Okay.
Like, actually played a real decent sample size. Think about the picks
interesting.
Think about the picks that he played a lot when KT was winning. It's just probably going to surprise you, so I'll give you a bit of time to think about it. But
Yeah. Rascal seemingly just voluntarily missed the cannon there. Not sure about that.
it's his Kha'Zix.
Kha'Zix? Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
They
I was
remember
gonna
they would
say
have
Skarner.
BDD every game on good old mid lane Galio.
Yeah.
From there, that would work out really well for them. Yukal played a lot of Galio when they were together. The Galio Kha'Zix they played a lot of. Score. Kha'Zix win rate is back in the mid lane. BDD actually gets cheese ganked more than any other mid lane. Every game, someone's rolling up at level 2 or level 3 to try to cheese BDD.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird that it's happening so much in this game when he's playing Corki. By the way, Cuzz, he's playing Corki, so don't go back into the mid lane unless the Valkyrie is down.
We haven't talked about it for a while, so just for fans who might be tuning in, waiting for LEC later or things like that. Doran's Ring Akali. Why Doran's Ring? Why not Doran's Shield or something like that? The big reason to go Doran's Ring over something like Doran's Shield is the access to 2 potions. Reason why you want 2 potions is that so much of League of Legends, the highest level, we see it all the time in Korea, is you take a bad trade, you don't have enough time to back off and like proc the Doran's Shield multiple times or lifesteal with the Doran's Blade. You need those 2 potions so that you're not forced to back and teleport back in, because then maybe the jungler is there to force a second back time and you lose 2 waves. The extra potion gives you on command 150 extra life, and that flexibility in accordance with teleport is why we do see Doran's Ring on non-mana users like Vladimir and Akali all the time.
It's definitely a good point. You see that he goes back, he has teleport, picks up the refillable, so now he'll have good sustain for lane. I noticed that a lot. I used to do this a lot when I was lower level, just not buy sustain. And it hurt a lot. Definitely, if you feel like you're getting poked out of a lot of lanes, there's probably a reason. As we have a little bit of an engage down on the bottom side, but as I mentioned before, it's Braum. I want to see more of the jungle and the top side.
And in the past, Doran's Shield was picked up because it was better. The Doran's Shield nerf, where the amount of health regen you got was scaling, as Deft actually has an interruption.
Oh, well.
Arcane's just pretty cool.
Sorry, yeah. He had low mana.
But it used to be that Doran's Shield would always give a flat amount of health regen, but then it was nerfed where if you're high health, you don't get that. Speaking of high health, Rascal might have considerations here.
You got Predator coming in here, Kingen flashing
Hit
in.
level
Rascal,
6 just now.
Yep, that's big. And that means that he's probably not going to have to flash here.
That was very important timing on the levels. Didn't see if he actually rushed down a minion or if he just happened to hit level 6, but regardless, level 6, they're the reason they got out.
I think it just happened, especially because this wave is pushing back, so. Lucky Rascal. That's what we'll call him for this game.
You lucky rascal, you.
Exactly. Level 6 hit here for Kingen. Thinking about taking a trade while the perfect execution is down, but can't quite force it.
Turns out you have to force out so many damn abilities every time you even think of looking at Akali the wrong way.
How many times has Akali been nerfed after the rework?
Well, the latest one was a buff, but it was at least removing a dumb mechanic in the invisibility, so
yeah.
She's one nerf away from being a little bit less annoying. She'll always be annoying, right? It's literally what she does.
It feels like one of those champions, like, you remember Camille when she first came out.
Oh
where
my god.
It was just like, the Champions kit is too good to have these numbers, and the numbers have to be pretty low in order for this to be fair.
But the funny thing is she's a very Korea-only champion, Camille. You see very little Camille outside of jungle dominating the story and LPL in the past. And you still see people like following the lead and picking up Camille from bits and spurts, but Bria definitely has been the flag bearer on top lane this year.
I mean, it's a very mechanically intense champion. Intensive, I should say. And in order to get the full range out of her crazy kit, you do have to be able to do a lot with that kit, especially with how far she has been nerfed.
There's a lot of things she doesn't do. Like, she doesn't team fight really well most of the time. There's definitely scenarios, like with a Taric or something, where it's easier, but her team fight is pretty situational. So, side lane champions have always been more popular in Korea than other regions. Think of on-hit cannon, right? As the most recent example to fully confirm that. In a side lane, she's always been very, very strong. Control ward was put down. Scouting has happened, but any chance for Cuzz to get in here, you wonder?
I mean, that's the most obvious thing in the world once you see the exhaust come in. Scores here. Now they're looking to turn it around. Cask is going to delay that, but it's a little bit too obvious. Score is going to be there on time. Good positioning for him as well. And no harm, no foul.
No cunning ruse is going to happen. That time just ends up being a bit of a telegraph and score on the right side of the map. Counter ganking this time on the Gragas.
Still here, by the way. Looking for the pull here on a TusiN. He's pretty low. Gonna be ignited down and killed by that final auto attack from Score. Nice first blood gonna be given over to the jungle.
Good call there from KT. They saw a kill that wasn't guaranteed, but was absolutely rubber stamped with the hook landing there. So nice job from SnowFlower. Shout out to SnowFlower, whose last week of the season, I think, has been his best run of games all year. Definitely has struggled very extensively on KT. And BDD on a much lower agency mid lane than he has been on the Azir. Can't really make his battles of his own volition like he could so easily with his super aggro Emperor Divide play.
Yeah, BDD has played so much Azir, maybe he'll feel a little bit less comfortable on anything else, but so far, just farming, that's what he does.
Big item lead for Score after that. He actually has full runic compared to half of a warrior. So I assume Xin Zhao probably has it on next back, but not often you have a skirmishing advantage to Gragas over Xin Zhao.
Yeah, that allows them to put on a bunch of vision up in the top side. We got SnowFlower roaming.
They're playing this really well. They also have the jungler.
Nice try. Gonna flash that Cask.
Blast from the past here, Score playing with priority. The support roamed when the enemy support didn't. Andy knows he has the combat advantage, and they're straight onto Rift Herald. This is really good play by KT.
Yeah, absolutely. Gotta hand it to them. A nice little check here from Deft is going to see that the Rift Herald has been started, but with Xin Zhao backing and no flash on him, they might just have to give that objective away.
And this sucks for the side of King Zone, because remember, it's Karma mid lane, and Karma Xin is like Karma Olaf. He's supposed to fight for everything. They're losing fights to this Gragas for now. Cuzz had to get his recall timing, and literally the moment he showed with half a warrior compared to Runic Echo Gragas, all of those good things in a row were just acquiesced over to KT because they couldn't afford to fight for it and lose because of item disadvantage.
Yeah, old school KT coming in here. Must feel good for now. But again, they do have to execute into the later game, but with the comp they have, scaling into the late game is going to be fantastic, and with a good early game, that takes away a little bit of power from that mid-game composition we were talking about from King Zone.
And they need to use their pieces, right? If Ezreal just 2v2 farms for 20 minutes, that's no good. If Karma Xin don't combo to take things, that's no good. And they've lost Rift Herald, so sometime in the next 2.5 minutes, you would suspect, they're going to have to do what KT wants them to do, rather than get to play their own game. And speaking of playing games, lane gank is very much expected here because of the lane positioning. Double control ward goes down. Don't want to spend too much time looking for this. The most important thing is getting a good Rift Herald charge for KT.
We just had the Braum back, actually. He's got Unsealed Spellbook, but right now he's on Ghost Heal. So when is Score going to use it? He's going to use it now. Sees no Braum. just fine to push this down. Trying to get Prey fed up here already. A bunch of damage done to this turret. The Rift Herald is going to help out big time. Going to give half the gold to Prey, half to SnowFlower maybe? I didn't see where the other half went there. Or actually, no, the turret plate didn't go down.
Yeah, the last one didn't actually calculate catch there, Valdez.
Yeah. Still alive, and then it went down quickly afterwards. So just the one to Prey. Can be awkward if you, you send down the Rift Herald when you just took a plate the moment before. You want to do a tiny bit of extra damage.
Still got the strength of the Xin Zhao to roll through the river there and take control alongside the Broms. Good to see those combos, because they have combo pieces like we mentioned that can be pretty fearsome very soon. Score was popping the Predator there. Oh wow, we're going for a big play.
All right, Deft, what do you got here? He's gonna flash, but immediately that Hextech ultimatum comes in. Score takes a bunch of damage, but again, stopwatch, best item in the game, gonna save him, and that's gonna be another pick that goes over to KT for the push in the bottom side.
Yeah, the junglers met each other, or the Score met an opponent in the river, and they must have assumed the play was over, but the TP comes in. Kingen wants out of this laning phase. That does mean some free time and probably a Gunblade back very shortly for Rascal. Get the bot lane out of turret, and KT have been making a lot of different attacks on the bot lane to seem to want to disrupt Deft and TusiN.
And so far it's worked. You know, one of those big mid-game champs, if you can get ahead of them, is Ezreal. It'll feel pretty good, and so far, Deft is down about 12 CS. Kingen, awkward spot here, is going to eventually try to back. But
for a freeze, Prey actually around to help out there, and there's confirmation on the amount of plates. No one got everything they wanted, but you definitely take it at KT as 2 plates went begging out of 3.
SnowFlower, awkward spot here, going to be knocked up, looking to flash the wall. Has a nice shield afterwards, Cuzz with no flash. Not sure if he would have followed anyway.
Joining us late, no impact on top of the table here. Kingzone was already mathematically eliminated yesterday from making playoffs. For relegation playoffs, a lot on the line here. KT must win, and Humble Life must lose tomorrow. That is the only scenario where KT avoids relegations. Doesn't matter about the score. Well, right now, it's all about this best of one. We've had 2 back-to-back 50-minute extravaganzas, and we're not to know what game number 3 holds for us.
So far, it's been a nice amount of action, specifically from KT as they set up for this game.
Score had the turret aggro there, went stasis, got away. That was the kill that happened before. Notice Naehyun's inventory. It is the I want to be with friends inventory, so waiting to see if Naehyun can group, because the moment you go these 2 items, you're never going to do item as Karma. Champion doesn't do a lot of damage, the late game goes on. Therefore, what are you doing 15 to 30 to actually use your transferring of power items?
Score has been all over the place in this entire game so far. He's been topside multiple times. He was able to get the perfect execution early from the Akali. Then he pushed Cuzz back, got the Rift Herald, got the first blood on the bottom side, followed up with the gank down there. The guy is just really active in this game. He's done a lot more than the Xin Zhao, who has more CS, but you don't really want your Xin Zhao to just be sitting in the jungle farming necessarily.
But we can take a breather, because we're very close to where the game is decided. Trinity Force will be done. Next back timing from Ezreal. Gunblade is done. Support itemization from Karma. That is when Kingzone is relatively the strongest towards KT's comp. Disrupting that is the dream from the side of KT, and that's why there's been so much bot lane play, to stop there being those rubber-stamped items for Ezreal. That will be the clear team fight or skirmishing timing from Kingzone to go aggressive. The later the game goes, the more overall gold there is in the game, the more it's going to have to be real heroics from Deft.
Oh!
Did he get that?
I think BDD got it. Somehow. Looks pretty good for that one. We got an ultimate now on the Rascal, who has everything up and will use everything to get away from that one.
Knew that if he used perfect execution, it would have been interrupted and then would have been hit by the dredge line. So ultra safety first from Rascal.
So now after he's used pretty much everything, it's going to get flashed on. Really nice mechanics to get on in there. We got 5 members bot lane for KT. They're going to take out the Akali, and they're looking to push.
They would actually prefer to actually tank the minions here if they wanted to get the inhibitor turret. They give up on that dream. TP into mid lane from Corki. Nice little rotatos from KT.
They're looking really clean in this game. It's actually a bit of the opposite from what we've seen early on as, did I speak too soon?
Yes.
Maybe a little bit too soon, but still they were able to get out of that weird situation. BDD a bit all alone here in the mid lane, but it is Corki.
As TP in to even get to mid lane and prevent this turret from going down. Both mid lane turrets pretty healthy.
Oh, we're engaging onto Cuzz now. Dredge line landed on in there. SnowFlower doesn't have much else, and honestly, after the play they made in the bottom side, I'd say you probably want to back off after that one. You don't have flash on score, not on SnowFlower, no ults available.
And Deft doesn't have Trinity Force, so the grouping plays around him don't quite have the fangs. They will very, very shortly. One more costume change, and this Ezreal is going to be very, very powerful. Yep. That's really where the game is going to be decided for mine. I've been someone who over many metas has perennially underrated Karma mid because the ability to have those crazy big shields and ability can be big. But yeah, it's the start from score and then the amount of backup here. Corgi gets to swag, walk through. But Trinity Force done. Mirror Mana transformation coming soon. The possibilities start now for the side of Kingzone.
Kingzone have to group up. Trinity Force is done. We're all suited up and ready to go. It's like the villain got his one big power-up right in the middle of the movie. That's exactly what Ezreal is feeling like right now. Needs that Karma. Karma's actually in the top lane right now.
I'm not a huge fan of going full support build and then trying to play 3 lanes. I understand there's TPs and reasons to do that, so mostly it's to play around TP advantage they have over BDD, but you got to get there first as Karma, so you have the shields and the mobility and the utility early. Obviously, you don't have any teleport flank options, so wait and see how it all comes together. Karma, to her credit, is speeding down the mid lane.
Yeah, they finally grouped up as 4. They're going to leave Rascal in the side lane. It's going to be the main objective here. Cloud Drake again, so not the insane amount of Infernals we've had, as BDD already doing a nice amount of damage there on TusiN.
Heal used early to cycle it here. I guess TusiN can change. Barrier coming out.
You got Deft, he's powering up. Just 1 Q on the BDD with the help of the Karma. And already able to line up that True Shot Barrage and get that Corki to back. You can tell. He knows the weight of this composition is on him. He's the one. Arcane shifting forward and looking for picks as he actually got rooted there by the feathers.
And I can actually give the chat an update on the most important thing about today. Score actually won MVP playing not Hillbilly Gragas 2 days ago. He's back on Hillbilly Gragas, his perennial skin.
Yeah, that's very, very important news.
I know. Why would he change? I want to say it was an accident. Maybe it was like when the tester accidentally forced FLICKR onto the Battle Bunny ribbon. We're not to know.
I think that's the only explanation.
I'm just happy our Hillbillies are back. Salute to the Hillbillies.
Yes. Big fan of the Hillbillies, of course, especially when Score is playing them.
I've never seen anyone. I've seen one other person play it, and it was like a random jungler in another region. It was not like a, this is also his skin forever. There's like one Scuba Gragas player somewhere as well.
Yeah, someone plays Scuba Gragas here.
I think it was a support, though. Something like that.
Yeah.
Do you ever have the thing where if a champion is played in different roles, you have a different skin for each role?
No, actually, that's a cool idea.
I love doing that. So when I never played AP Ezreal, but when I did, when AP Ezreal was a meta thing for a time, I would use this skin. I would use the Pulsefire Ezreal. So I would never use Pulsefire unless I was AP Ezreal. And Magnificent Twisted Fate was my AP Twisted Fate skin. It just felt right. It's got more magic in it.
Yeah. I just use the coolest skin.
That's fair.
Whatever I deem is the coolest. But sometimes I like to switch it up. It's either the coolest or it's the absolute ugliest. Like, you know, like the one that you would not necessarily introduce.
Give me
to
an
your
example
parents.
of an ugly skin.
There's one FLICKR one where he has like a little, he's got like a bucket on his head or something.
Oh,
like,
yes, I know, the curling FLICKR skin.
There's like no,
mid lane.
Okay, big knock up here as Cuzz tries to go in, but he's in a bit of trouble. He's got Karma behind him, though. You got to remember that. Rascal now in the Shroud thinking about it, but decides against it. BDD! He was one auto away from chunking Rascal down.
And this Corky's getting pretty big in the ARAM, Valdez. Deft not able to get the value he needs to at this juncture in the game. What does it mean?
He's trying his heart out. You can tell he's got some life steal now, but he's going up against a worthy opponent that's 2 levels above him. That's the Trinity Force Infinity at second, and now Stopwatch, best item in the game. 2-0 Corky for BDD.
How did this all start? Because we're in a bit of this farm off ARAM, and then, it's another one of those go-go gadget hooks coming out from SnowFlower. He's gunning for an MVP today because he's hitting the max range hooks that are going out of fashion. Can someone inspect his ranges, make sure he didn't eke out an extra 50 range on his hook?
You were asking about items in League of Legends. I actually wish you could, like, we didn't have caps. Not the player, but like cooldown caps,
really,
right?
I really like that. I wish we had caps in LCK.
But what I said was that I wish we don't have caps. The cooldown cap, I think there's like an attack speed.
Yep.
Some
movement speed.
Yeah. Those, like, what's it called?
Soft caps and hard caps.
Yeah, it's like diminishing returns. That's what it is. From the items that you go for. I wish you could do that. Also, more like OP items that seem OP. Like adding marines to abilities or something like that.
Yeah,
like
Stormrazor.
Champion-specific.
Stormrazor.
Like, you know how Victor has his thingamabob, right? I wish there were like more stuff like that.
I feel like those would either be super overpowered and built by everyone, or they'd be too niche and having just stats would be better. But I know what... I feel like the items, an item rework would be... I know they've done it in time, like the Morelnomicon Sorcerer,
yeah.
the mage rework. Something like that, but like all of the time put into that, like just that's the only change you make, could be really interesting.
Yeah.
But they've also failed in execution around those, like around the Essence Reaver and other things, Stormrazor. There's been a lot of different changes and attempts at that. It's hard. It affects everyone, right?
Yeah,
and someone always abuses it the
crazy.
hardest.
There's so many champions now, and actually a wealth of items in the game to the point where it's like, you change one thing and, well, we'll just have a Corky Azir meta for years. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Hey, we got a Corky Karma meta in this particular game. It's SnowFlower.
SnowFlower in a bit of trouble. Changing it up are the supports. This time BDD not really able to lay down on the damage. Deft, it's got that shield, looking to push on in. Will do that to Prey.
Kingen can do a lot here. They can siege down mid lane tower. They can try a Baron. They can do so much because they have so much temporary shielding on their side. TP being drawn back into mid lane. Another item for Prey.
Shot barrage just gotten back here for Deft. Is going to hit nobody. BDD almost rooted there. That would have been probably lethal. Got to be careful. As a third Cloud Drake is on the map here.
Exciting.
King Zone. Got to go fast. That's what it's all about in this one, I suppose.
Clarity
close to it.
Clarity popped by TusiN just to keep the push going. They desperately want this mid lane outer turret, but Rascal can't really do anything in that arena. Cuzz has taken down the Cloud Drake, so it seems like outer mid lane turret will live to fight another day.
Staying alive at about 1/4 health there in the mid lane. And KT are fine with that. You know, they're just sitting back. They have not only Camille, but 280 carries, one of which is ultra fed in this game.
And they also have 2 Infinity Edges against a squishy team. So Braum, yep, Unbreakable will be useful. Cuzz with Zolda, maybe. Otherwise, everyone else dying real fast.
This isn't like that fun Akali game where you can kind of just go in and do an insane amount of damage. Yes, you know, you're going to be able to go in Shroud, but the second you come out, 2-3 auto attacks, you might just die.
SnowFlower had a control ward there and kind of walked over and died. So for every good turn, there must be an equivalent less good turn, we'll call it.
An equal and opposite reaction.
Hey, I went to science class. I learned some stuff. Wait, was that physics?
Yeah, that was physics. I mean, it is science, right? So you weren't wrong.
Me fail English? That's impossible. Kingzone posturing. Remember, their comp is a little bit more narrow, a little bit more pick-based. Unless Ezreal's leading the charge, they're going to have to choose their options. They're very low engaged, like we mentioned, so losing Baron will be big.
Okay. Really getting in there, trying to dump on BDD, but it ends up being Kingzone. It's getting dumped on. The perfect cast is going to get Deft in there, but he has a massive shield, but Kingen just does not care. He's going to be able to get into that back line. Hextech Ultimatum gets a second, and now it's only TusiN, as Rascal was nowhere to be found, and KT get another big fight.
That catch on to Deft was delightful. We need to replay to see all of it. How much can he get here, Rascal?
Rascal. This is what I was talking about. You go into a fight, 1-2 auto attacks, and you die. He's able to get the trade onto SnowFlower, but they don't care. That's just going to be your Nautilus. That will be Baron as well going to KT.
And it's a disaster for Kingzone to lose the Baron. They need Baron to win this game with no initiation, and their wave clear doesn't matter. It's too low to deal with an enemy Baron. Huge moment for KT there in their hopes to stave away relegation. Gotta watch the replay though. The turn onto Deft was next level. Was it all intentional? Did some of it fall into their laps? We'll see on the replay. But he is the superstar of this comp. Only person that matters really on the Kingzone side is going to be Deft. All in, unneeded, all in. Trying to get BDD. Remember that Rascal can't be there, but watch here. Score gets the cask into the hook, into a crit from BDD. And even though Deft has more shields, that is one way to punk Deft.
That was pretty insane. Shout out to our observers. Well, I don't think we wanted to see this too much, but stopwatch at the same time. Ends up that he does get a kill. He doesn't look super foolish, but probably not the best idea. Giant Nysa from the coach's booth there.
Not a squeaky Nysa that time.
No. Giant one. It's kind of like Giant Spill, but it's a little bit different. Saw Smeb and UmTi in there as well. Trying to get the trade is Kingen on the left side. Cuzz going in alone. He's got a lot of shields as well on the engage. Notice that chunk of health that Rascal did take. Kingen, he's getting a little bit out of hand now.
Back away though. Sieging, still tricky, but they draw out Cuzz's ultimate, and like he was alone. Able to reset one minion wave. Should be no way to reset this minion wave. Walk up confidently, Corgi. You've got this one.
Getting in there with the Baron. Corgi is feeling so good right now. As Kingen mentioned it, this guy is pretty out of hand at this moment in time. Not the best straight there as he takes 2 turret shots, but he's got BDD coming on over. A nice little rotation to take out another inner turret on the map.
And now this draft from Kingzone is sort of draft people will flame, because from behind it's so hard to play. Yet, how many times did Deft and TusiN play Ezreal Tom and basically win games alone as the 2v2? Didn't happen this time. KT has stayed competitive, and Prey and SnowFlower out of form for a lot of the year. You understand the line they took, but just like SKT were smited down earlier in the week, things get really, really hard for Kingzone. Especially after Kingen finishes Sterix, because actually where it was, without a GA or a Sterix, it's actually not trivial to 1v1 Rascal. You can potentially all in, you're not the tankiest champion as Camille. But the lockout items are coming. Potentially the lockout of the series is coming for KT Rolster.
Yeah, and you mentioned it before. This could be, again, Score's last game of professional play here in the LCK
Probably at Lol Park, right? Because even if there is a Kesper Cup, who knows if he'll want to play. That would be very close to the end of the year, and he'll have a lot of other things on his mind, and it most likely wouldn't be played at Lol Park. Don't know the details there. Don't even know if there's going to be a Kesper Cup, but he's a player who's so important to Korean League of Legends, literally the only guy that stuck around the whole time. Where, speaking to pros, because I would always ask about him, right? Because he was such a talented jungler and respected as one of the best players in the world. Every single pro player, every single caster, every single personality told me the same thing, which is you have never met a better leader or a nicer guy. He always tried everything for his teammates and never thought about himself. And that's why his 7-year odyssey was such a crazy one. You know, to go 7 years never winning, always being around, role swapping from one of the best 80 carries, the Immortal score, to the jungle. You know, it's there's a lot of stories in League of Legends because the players have their own histories where they come from. And that was a story I think everyone can relate to, and that's why he's so epically popular. So if it is his final game, after 713, you know, he deserved better than 2019. Not that he played fantastic, but it was definitely out with a whimper rather than out with a bang this year. But, yeah, never to be forgotten. A true League of Legends all-star for all time.
Yeah, it'll be the end of an era when he does eventually say, I'm done for good. We get that official word. Pretty much there. But for KT, it will also rely on Hanwha Life losing to Griffin tomorrow. So keep that in mind, guys. It's not 100% yet, but good to give him the focus he deserves here, as he's had a fantastic game. Definitely my MVP of this game so far.
I mean, he would win even if he was rubbish, because we got to talk to him, right?
Yeah, I think so. And, yeah, we're here in this game. You can see Kingzone struggling to hold off the push, but the Baron is down now. We're looking at another Baron here in 30 seconds. We'll see what KT can set up here as they're up 8,000 gold.
They gotta close it, right? It's very different. Kingzone can still win, right? Xin Zhao as a champion does some very weird things with his ultimate, and they have a lot of mobility. These karma comps can surprise people, and suddenly someone gets zapped for 1 million damage by an Ezreal. Speaking of, a lot of people have been zapped by Ezreal. Turns out, still Ezreal. Yeah. Still Deft on Ezreal.
Even a lot more damage than the Corki, who's been a menace this entire game. Check the Baron.
Don't like the lockout item. Look at this double GA, actually. They're getting in there. They're not going to be trifled with. Someone's pulling a flash on. Hopefully it's not Corki. It's not that.
No, I doubt it. Shield cooldown is down here for a tiny amount of time. Kingen looking for that flank, and he goes. He's going to find TusiN. It's nice stopwatch timing, but he's almost definitely going to be dead here anyway. Finally, the Manta Shield comes in, but it's a little bit too late. As KT engage after that cooldown is down, and BDD is hitting like a truck.
Those big ones are nothing to trifle with. KT seem to be sliding towards getting Baron to make things guaranteed. The 5v4 not enough for them. Guess they don't want to dive all the shields.
All right, ultimate gonna come in here looking for damage, actually. See, that score did take a healthy amount, but Kingen once again.
Can they stop Cuzz from getting in the pit?
Looks like they're looking for the turn. Gonna try to find Deft here, but the stopwatch gets him. In the end, is gonna survive, but not for long. As in goes BDD, the feathers come out, and it is gonna be enough as triple kill comes in now for Prey. Rascal in a bit of trouble here as he's gonna be hunted down, and KT are gonna look to push for the win.
The precision protocol gets its man, and now KT push in, 4 men strong. They will not be safe from relegations until the final match of LCK Summer 2019. They haven't had much to cheer about. They will beat Kingzone Dragon X today.
It is gonna happen, BDD. He's got a GA. They're having a little bit of fun. They know they've done it. As down will go the Nexus here for game number 3. KT Rolster gonna take him down. And we'll have one chance to get away from the relegations. We'll see if Hanwha Life can win tomorrow, but it does happen. KT, they do the last final thing that was in their control to make sure it could happen.
You notice even before they go to the other side, all the subs are coming out to give the players a hug. No one feeling really good about winning this match. It means so much. There won't be any final statements during the interviews because nothing is decided here. But the only way they stayed alive was to beat Kingzone Dragon X today. They take a bow. The interview will be one of those muted ones because, again, they have to wait till all the matches are done. The 90th match of the season will decide things. Thank you, Score Sign, in the audience.
There's another one that I spotted as well in Korean. The fans all know as well that there is high potential that this could be Score's last match. Some pats on the back here on the side of Kingzone, as this match didn't really matter for their standing. They're going to stay in 7th and just be stuck there, not going to playoffs, so we'll just have to prepare for World Qualifiers.
This is a question more for playoffs because they will be playing again in Worlds Qualifiers in almost every scenario as Score gets a big cheer. Will we ever see this Kingzone lineup go around again with all the rumors about where things are at, right? So they're also a bit on borrowed time in terms of 5-man lineups, I would imagine. Couple of little hand gestures to the crowd. Another legend in Prey, who maybe we've also seen the last of. Who's to know, right?
Yeah.
What has this summer split meant about Prey wanting to continue in competitive? He doesn't have mandatory military service next year, but I'm sure a lot of players on KT. What will KT Rolster look like as an org next year? Another thing that's to be decided on a different day.
Yeah, that's another exciting time in Korean League of Legends and basically around the world, you know, towards the end of the year where rosters get changed up. But for this moment, we can live in what KT is and what they were, as everybody's going to walk out of Lal Park after their nice little victory here.
Misty eyes from Score as he walked out. We don't know what it all means, guys, but the emotion is not lost on anyone here on the broadcast or in Lal Park. Victory for KT Rolster. It's been a humbling year for them, you know, right? They were Korea's best hope last year, and yes, they had fellow strugglers in FLICKR and Genji in spring, but in summer, those other Worlds orgs went up, and we don't know how far up, but they definitely were in the consideration. KT weren't, even though they brought Prey onto the roster, so ultra humbling for KT to struggle so hard in 2019. A proud org, you know, a massive, massive sponsor. What it will mean for them next year will probably be decided, and I imagine there will be a lot of change, potentially on all sides of the equation.
Yeah, I mean, don't even just assume that the subs are even going to stay. You might say, oh, probably it'll be starting jungler, but no guarantee there. It's definitely a lot of changes to come and wait for, but that's, you know, 4 months down the line once we do get there. Score, absolutely the MVP of this game. Set up so many ganks over the course of this one. Mechanics here on point. Gets another kill onto Rascal. Felt good that we were able to give him the MVP vote without it just being just to talk to him. So the guy did seriously level up here in game number 3.
It was a, you know, by hook or by crook series, a really long one. We're actually 3 hours 15 already into the broadcast. So our second series, a lot of people will be tuning in for SKT Sandbox for top playoffs. Seeding is going to start really late, probably close to 9 p.m., around 8:50, you would imagine, Korean Standard Time. But at the end of the day, the victories come in. I can spy with my little eye who the MVP of this one is. You don't need much of a spoiler. Again, if score was 0-10, you probably would still win the MVP here for narrative reasons. You can laugh about your narratives. LEC's coming on after this, but yeah, I tear up thinking about Score's career. Maybe that makes me too sentimental, but he deserves a chance to potentially address the fans for the final time as an active pro.
Yeah, he finally got that win last year in the LCK up against Griffin, and now we may have witnessed his final game in the ballpark here, potentially in his career, as we listen into the comms. A lot of stuff being said by Score. He talked about him being a leader. Down to the last game. He did exactly that, his job.
420, blazed it out. 420 career wins. How many people play 420 career games? In North America and the LEC, it's super hard, right? They only play 18 game regular seasons. But he won 420 games. There were the losses, of course. He will end with a career win rate of 59%. 293 losses to go along with the 420 wins. Will he play again? There's a chance still. Unreal Life can upset tomorrow. MVP was Score. You already knew that. We spoiled it multiple times. Our producer's spoiling it. I want Score to walk up and by the way, I got the MVP. Just spoil it one more time, baby.
Just in case you guys weren't sure. Yeah, absolutely does deserve it. And we are going to get to hear from him. It'll be interesting to hear what he does have to say at the end of this season. We were talking about how this one was kind of one that you aren't really going to remember. You want to remember Score up on stage after defeating Griffin in 5 games, taking his win finally after those many, many years. But he will pick up his 4th MVP of the summer season, even though KT didn't do a lot of winning. He ended up getting 4 of them and did his job, certainly, in this game.
Yep, it was Score's Gragas. Most played, he rolled it back, looked great doing it. Hasn't had a great season on the Gragas. Cuzz was our Gragas superstar, but across from Cuzz on this particular game, was able to get it done. You're right, a year ago there was an entire stadium singing his name, something I haven't heard in Korean esports. A year that you forget, but you know, he went around again. I'm sure he wanted to win that World Championship, right? But it wasn't to be in the cards. He won't be going to the World Championships. He might still be going to relegations, but let's get that interview going.
Yeah, let's hear what he has to say. I'm going to hand it to TusiN for the translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is the translation, and we'll be hearing from PDD and Score from KT Rolster. It was a long day. Today was a must-win game to get out of the relegation zone. Well, we don't know what will happen tomorrow, but we did our best to win today's match. So it's really nice to see this great result. And Score, I think your eyes are a little bit teary. What do you think about this victory today? Well, today, I really wanted to win this. With that kind of mindset, I came to the arena. It was more like a turning around game, so it's more touching moment for me. So KT Rolster, we could see that they're really into this game today. So, what was the focal point for today's match? Besides anything else? Well, individual players, we have to do our own works perfectly. So let's go back to game number 1. I'm not even sure whether you guys can remember it perfectly. Well, the most impressive thing is that you guys are really good at picking up objectives. So I want to talk about the first Baron. That was actually after you guys had a big loss after a fight. Well, at that moment, well, you know, even though we were a bit behind, SnowFlower was making a call that why don't we just try for a Baron? So we just like, yeah, let's give it a try. So SnowFlower was the one who made that call. And BDD, game 1 and 2, Naehyun played Velcos, but you were running different runes. Well, game number 1, well, Cuzz was some really strong early champions, so I wanted to go defensively. But I realized that even though I go defensively, actually, Cuzz was not really pulling off aggressive plays, so I changed my rune to go some of the more aggressive plays on Azir. And let's have a look at these highlights over here. It was a perfect delivery. Well, SnowFlower was making a flank, so we were looking for an engage over there. And I remember the ADC didn't have his flash, so I was kind of able to go in aggressively. In game number 2, well, it was the other way around. The Kingen turned the game around, but game number 3, well, speaking of game 1 and 2, the game was a bit hard in top lane. But you guys didn't really ban out any of the champions in top lane, so what was the main strategy for today's draft? Well, pick and ban draft? Well, I don't really remember it, but we just wanted to... We thought that Kingen will be running the champions. They're really confident that, so we just wanted to like ban those things out. And Score, you went with your most signature pick, Gragas, lock in. Well, Gragas is a really good champion to kind of blind pick, and also it's one of my confident picks. So I told my coaching staff that it will be a great situation to kind of lock in Gragas in the early phase. And SnowFlower finally was able to get his Nautilus in his hand. What did it say at that moment, or what did the player think at that moment? Well, just seeing the face of Nautilus boosts our confidence. So we're all really having extra confidence for game number 3. So game 3 was more stable or consistent compared to game 1 and 2. So let's take a look at the highlight we prepared. There was a super play over there. Well, at that moment, I was expecting Kingen players to kind of engage in top side, and I think Ezreal was no flash at that moment, and I totally saw him right on the downside of my champion, so I just went straight in for engage. So it was not easy, but you guys got this 2-2-1 victory today. And the fans were staying here in the arena for a long time as well. Well, even though we have to wait and see whether KT Rolster will be going down to the relegation. So is there any message for Griffin players? Well, to be honest, when we were play up against Hana, we were actually cheering all the other LCK teams. Well, that was going up against Hana Life, so we kind of quit that. But so I just want to be too excited, but I just want to say good luck or best of luck for Griffin players. And Score, the fans are but thinking that this can be your final game here in LCK. So I think you might have something to say to your fans, right? Well, I don't know what to say exactly right now, but I think this will be my last LCK game today. So I just want to say thank you for all the fans who have been supporting me and also enjoying watching our games. So I will keep doing my best. Thank you.
저희 경기 길었지만 LCK 마지막
Even though it was a very extended game,
어떤 점이 가장 기억에 남았는지
is there any most memorable moment in your LCK career?
일단은 제가 그래도 은퇴하기 전까지 계속 LCK
Before my retirement,
뛰었다는 것 자체가
the fact that I performed in LCK is the most important thing. So I just want the LCK to keep going on so I can enjoy outside of LCK.
네, 알겠습니다. 스코어 선수의 인생 계속해서 응원하도록
We will be supporting your life outside of LCK as well, and BDD, you have been together with Score as well.
기록에 남잖아요. 이
Any message on camera for Score?
네, 아직 시즌은 끝났지만
Well, even though the regular split has ended, we still got a lot of time, so let's hang out a lot before you enter the army. So thank you and goodbye.
네, 두 분의 아름다운 우정 너무 인상적이고요. 호응을 한번 하고
Huh?
싶은데 안
No?
하도록 하겠습니다.
Okay, I won't ask for
너무너무
that.
고생 많으셨고요. 오늘 승리
Anyways,
축하드리고요.
once again,
푹 쉬시기 바랍니다.
congratulations on the
인터뷰
win,
감사합니다.
and thank you very much for this interview.
네, BDD
So this
선수
will be the end of the
스코어
interview with
선수
BDD and
함께했습니다.
Score. I'm gonna pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji-sun, as always, but in a special way this time for that very important interview translation. Good to hear from Score, as he said that was most likely going to be his last time there up on that stage. So it'll be good to remember him, wish him all the best in the military and in his life, as Mina did say as well.
Imagine starting as a 19-year-old kid when League of Legends was a very different game for LCS, before any of those tournaments, an invitational, right? Like so many other esports titles have put on, and here he is, 27 years old, and going over to the military. He won the big one last year, and that was the important thing, right? For his career, would have been a tragedy to go 8 years at his level and not be able to win one. We should talk about what this all means. Hanwha Life has to win tomorrow by any stat line. If they do win, KT will be condemned to relegation, but Griffin is playing for first, so they have a lot on the plate. And yet, with how this damn season has gone, Valdez, anything could happen.
Really anything could happen. Hanwha Life has proven before that they have taken down big teams and they're not scared to do it again. So we'll have to wait and see what that means for them and for KT and for Griffin as well. So thanks for joining us, guys, for this very important series that we did just cast. We're going to be back in about a half hour for the next one, Sandbox versus SKT. Join us then.
You take me higher when I feel low, make my world brighter when I'm alone. I keep on rolling, all with your fuel. You're like my gasoline that makes my dream come true. 'Cause this is the beginning. Together we'll be winning.